class. This is week 7 and our second perspective lesson. In this lesson, we are going to talk about foreground and background in perspective drawings. And then we will create what I'm calling our apple tree lane. And I'll walk you step by step through the process. And then you guys get to color in your final drawing and any way you want with any medium that you want to, and make it a completed piece of artwork with the perspective in there and all your final details and colored and really nice and neat. And that is your perspective drawing for today or for this week. So your lesson this week starts off with foreground and background. The foreground of a picture or a painting or drawing is the area of the picture space nearest to the viewer's vantage point. The objects in the foreground are clean, detailed, and a lot of times larger than the ones in the background. Your background is the plane in a composition perceived furthest from the viewer, things towards your horizon line. These objects are fuzzy, less detailed, and are smaller than the ones in the foreground most times. And if you look at this picture, you will see your vanishing point and your orthogonal lines of your road going to the vanishing point. And then that part in the front is your foreground. The gravelly look, your road is very clear, you can see the details in the road, and the background is behind the fence. The tree line in the back, it's very, it's fuzzy. You can't really tell if those are trees. We're assuming that they're trees, but they could be something else. And then you have the grass and those animals maybe back there. That's part of your background. So that's what we're going to do today. Foreground, background, and our perspective drawing. Now we're going to start our background and foreground perspective project. So for this project, we are going to do a apple tree lane. So basically we're going to draw our horizon line and draw a street that goes to our vanishing point, and then line our street with apple trees. So for this project, you'll need a piece of paper, a ruler, and a pencil. And we're going to start by drawing our horizon line. We're going to put our horizon line a little above midway. So maybe, a third of the way down from the top of your paper. You're going to line the edge of your ruler up to the edge of your paper so that you get a straight horizon line, a straight horizontal line. And then you can find the middle of your paper if you like to put your vanishing point right in the middle. So if your paper is 11 inches, then you will put your vanishing point at 5.5. You're going to create your little dot right there. So we're going to start by drawing our street. So I'm going to put my pencil on my vanishing point. And if you start at your vanishing point, then that makes sure that your line always goes to the vanishing point. If you put your ruler at the vanishing point and start your pencil down here, it may be off once you get up here because of the width of the pencil, the tip. I'm going to bring my ruler out to the edge of my paper, and I'm going to draw the side of my street. Putting my pencil back on my vanishing point, I'm going to rotate my ruler to the other side of my paper and draw the other side of my street. So now you should have a picture that looks something like this. And my street side is a little bit further over on this side than it is on that side, and that's okay for this project. As long as it's about even, it's okay. You can measure it if you want to make sure it's in the right place. So for our street, we also have to add our dotted line down the middle. So I'm going to start with my pencil again on my vanishing point. align my ruler to where it goes almost halfway between the lines of my street. You can measure this if you want. I'm going to bring my ruler back down, or my pencil back down to this side though. So let me just that a little bit. There we go. And these lines down here, your dotted lines down here, are going to be darker and longer and a little bit further apart. And as you get closer to your vanishing point, the dotted line is going to get smaller and closer together and fainter. And the closer you get to your vanishing point, it's going to become almost a line. So see the progression from darker and longer to shorter and lighter, and they get closer together as you get down. Okay. Now we're going to add our curb and our sidewalk to both sides of our street. I'm putting my pencil back on my vanishing point, take my ruler and make it just a little bit past that side of the street and draw my line. So there's my curb. Do the same thing for the other side. Try to make it about the same size as the one on the other side. Starting at the vanishing point, I'm going to trace my ruler down. So there's the curb. Going back to my vanishing point, now I'm going to create my sidewalk. So you want enough space on your sidewalk for people to be able to walk. So you're going to make it not as wide as your street, but wider than your curb. So there's my sidewalk on one side. Starting at my vanishing point, I'm going to do the same on the other side and trying to make that sidewalk about the same width as the sidewalk on the other side of your street. Now we have two sidewalks. On a sidewalk, you have those patches of concrete, and they're like this, rectangular shape. So we're going to add in our lines for those sections of the sidewalk. And I'm going to, again, these are horizontal lines, just like our horizon line. So you're going to line your ruler up with the edge of your paper, and you're going to draw your line on your sidewalk. Now each one of these is going to get just a little bit closer, and I'll show you as I make them. So I'm going to move my ruler up, create another line, another horizontal line, move it up again just a little bit more, or a little bit less this time than the space before, making sure these are horizontal lines, lining my edge of my ruler up to my edge of my paper. So see, this shape and this shape and this shape are just a little bit smaller each time. That one actually might not be quite right. You can erase it and redraw it. So then for the next one, making it just a little bit smaller than the one before, you're going to add your next horizontal line, and you're going to do that all the way down your sidewalk to your vanishing point. And remember, these lines are going to get less visible the closer to your vanishing point that you get, and they're going to be closer together each time. And they're all horizontal. All of these lines are horizontal, making sure you're lining your edge of your ruler and the edge of your paper up. They become less visible, they're closer together, until you barely see them off in the distance. So there's our sidewalk, or the first part of our sidewalk. Now we're going to add where the concrete is broken on our vertical line. So I'm going to line my ruler up with the bottom of my paper and put my pencil at that connecting point on my diagonal, my orthogonal line, and my horizontal line of my sidewalk. So I'm going to put my pencil there, line my ruler up, the bottom of my ruler and the bottom of my paper, and I'm going to make a vertical line. And I'm going to do the same thing at each of the places on the sidewalk where I created that horizontal break. Making sure these lines are vertical. Making sure your lines are horizontal and vertical help the perspective. It gives you a better sense of depth and that this is going off into the distance. And those further up are going to be very barely visible, so I didn't even go up to the next one. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, putting my pencil there, lining up my ruler with the bottom of my paper, and drawing my vertical lines. Maybe you can see that one a little bit, maybe not. So now we have our sidewalk and our road drawn. Now we're going to add our apple trees. So in order to do that, we're going to put some guidelines. And what I'm going to do for the bottom of my apple tree, putting my pencil back on my vanishing point and my ruler at an angle, at my diagonal orthogonal line, I'm going to draw a very faint line. This one's just a guideline. It's not very dark across my paper. So see how light that is, so I can erase it when I'm done? I'm going to put a tree down here. So the bottom of my tree is going to go through the middle. This line is going to go through the middle of my tree. I'm going to draw the bottom where the grass would be showing, and then draw my tree trunk. So this is my first apple tree. Make it tall, come all the way up over my horizon line, and then I can put the top of my tree. And then I can erase that because that's kind of funny looking. And then you can erase your horizon line in that apple tree. So this is how tall I want my tree. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to go from the top of this tree and I'm going to draw a light line from my vanishing point to the top of my tree. Very light, very faint, just like we did the other one. So that's where my tree tops are going to come. They're going to start down here and they're going to touch up here. So my next tree, I'm going to bring it in right here and draw my tree trunk. Then the top of my tree is going to come and just touch that line. And then I'm going to erase my horizon line. Now I'm going to draw my next tree. So the next tree is going to, the bottom of it is going to cross that line in the middle. Bring my tree up, my trunk up here. And this top of this tree is just going to barely brush that top line. And then I'm going to erase my horizon line again. I'm going to come over and do another tree. The same way, the middle point is going to go this line, that guideline is going to go through the middle of my trunk. And then the top of it is just going to barely touch that line. Might come down just a little bit lower. Might not be quite that big. I think I'm going to scoot my tree trunk over some. And that's okay if you need to move the placement around, you can do that. That it's going to be skinnier. I don't know why I made it so thick. So see, each of my tree trunks is getting skinnier. Then I can erase that horizon line in the tree top. Then I can add another tree, this skinny little trunk right here. And this tree is gonna, actually I'm gonna move it down. Let's do that first. There we go. And then we'll add the trunk, little skinny trunk right there. Erasing our horizon line. And our tree trunks want to be vertical, close to vertical. And that can be it. We can be done with our trees. So now we can erase that line even better. Erase our guideline on the top and erase our guideline on the bottom through the bottoms of our tree trunks. Now we have a row of apple trees. Now this tree is in the foreground. So we can actually make this one a little bit bigger if you'd like. Make it come down a little bigger, make it a fuller tree. And then you can start adding in your apples. If you want to add your apples, you could make it an orange tree if you want. I know that's a weird shape of an apple. But these apples are going to be detailed. You're going to be able to see these clearer. You can add in some leaves, little squiggly, leaf shapes in there to make it more detailed. Add in more trees, or apples, I mean. And then in each one, your apples are going to be a little bit smaller. They're going to be a little less detailed. Until you get very small apples and very little detail. And you can do the same on your trunk. Maybe you want to add a knot to this trunk because some trees have knots in them. You can add, some bark lines so that you can actually see the detail and the texture in your tree. And you're going to do the same thing on the other side. So you're going to have 2 rows of trees. So you'll do the same thing where you do the bottom of your tree line. So let's see. If we want this one to line up, we'll put our ruler at the bottom of this tree, lining it up over here, and that tree is going to start somewhere over there. So then we're going to put our pencil back on our vanishing point, bring our ruler over and do a light line down. And that's where the base of our tree is going to be. And then we'll do the same thing with the top of our tree. So the top of this tree, if we did it and we want them to be even, would end up over here somewhere. And then we'll take our pencil from our vanishing point and go up towards that line and do a very faint. So the top of our tree on this side would end up here. So the bottom of our tree and the top of our tree, to make it the same on both sides if you want to. And you're going to, just like we did over here, each tree that gets closer is going to be smaller and less detailed. So you're going to draw the same trees over here, and then I want you to go back after you've done your drawing, and I want you to clean it up. I want you to outline the trees if you want to, make everything nice and clean. And then you can color it. You can color it with crayons, colored pencils. If you want to do it on a type of paper or even a canvas so you could paint it, you can do that as well. But the point is to have your picture showing perspective and your objects in the foreground detailed and larger than the objects in your background, which are going to be blurry and less detailed. And you can add clouds. You could add other little images in your in the grass over here on this side, and the grass over here. You could do draw a picnic blanket. But I want you to make this a finished, completed project. So this is your only activity and project for this week.